Hello everyone, my name is Dakota Blanton, and this is going to be my first pass video. In the brainstorming assignment, I had quite a few interesting ideas pop up, but one really stood out as being interesting and having a unique mechanic incorporated in it. So towards the end of the assignment, I had one of them pop up that was a first-person shooter set in North Korea in which you can bribe sharks. And I thought this was the most interesting and unique premise or quick summary to build a game around. So that's why I chose it for this project. A little bit of background for the game. It'll be set in North Korea. You will be the player will be a special operations officer who will be sent in to disable naval bases where the North Koreans are hiding nuclear subs. It's going to essentially be a first-person shooter. I think, obviously, for this project, it'll be a single-player game. We don't have the ability to incorporate really multiplayer or online things. So it's going to be more like a campaign built upon different levels where the player can or will be tasked with taking down these bases. And I think this will be a good way for us to keep the game simple and the scope small and really use our design abilities to lead the player through levels without having to build anything super complicated for them. What makes the game unique is the ability to bribe sharks. So for each enemy that the player eliminates, they'll be given money. Very similar to other games where when you eliminate enemies, you get money and you can buy different weapons. In this game, you can use the money to basically bribe sharks to attack your enemies or open up different areas for you to progress. But what exactly does the player do? So there'll be mission objectives for each level. Essentially, you're just going to need to fight your way through the level, reach a control room, and shut down the facility. Shouldn't be too complicated. This is a fairly bad, I admit, Google drawing from the perspective of the player, where the camera would be showing what's going on. So you have the enemy that you've taken out that gives you money, another enemy where you've called in the shark to attack. But would this project actually be doable for a few full stealth students? A first-person shooter game is fairly doable in our engine. The scope of the game is really what will define the feasibility for it. I've worked with projectile shooters in previous classes. The only real difference would be changing the camera angle because I've made them into 2D games. The level design will be of utmost importance for the actual project because that's how we're going to lead the player through the game instead of having complicated UIs and markers and other things popping up. And in the past, we've had to use trigger objects and different zones for interactions, and that's pretty much what we're going to be implementing in this game. So everything that needs to go into it mechanically, we have worked with before. Some similar games to this would be Army of Two, Battlefield, Call of Duty, or Counter-Strike. Essentially just going to be a first-person shooter with a campaign. The risks for this game include not having enough experience in animation to really make things like the sharks popping out of the water work. We really need to keep the scope of the game small so we don't end up running out of time to do it. So maybe 2 or 3 different levels. But we also need the game to be enjoyable you shouldn't be able to just run through it in a couple minutes. And that's about all I've got right now. I have a good bit of the game in my mind, but I'm looking forward to any questions you have for me regarding the game, the idea, and or this presentation. And thank you for listening.